All right. You know
Whew.
what it is. You know who it is. We're back. It's been a bit. Shit has been fucking crazy, as you can tell. I had a bunch of travel the last few weeks and been trying to keep up with everything, a bunch of time zone changes.
Hmm.
I think in total, I don't even know what the time difference is in total, but I know I went from England to Thailand, back to England to Vegas. Literally, I don't know if you could get, obviously, there's a little bit further you could get across the globe, but I was as far as you could get
Yeah,
at a
that's
single
quite a
point
jump.
throughout. And it was a lot. And me and Jerry have been trying to get on schedule, but obviously, when you go from 15-hour difference to 7-hour difference to same time zones, now 3 hours ahead, it's a lot. And we're finally on track back to it. And we're here to give you another wonderful episode of the BGPerform Podcast. It's been a busy weekend for me. I just got back from Vegas, and I'm in Florida for the week working with another one of my athletes, Paul Hughes, who has a championship fight against one of the Nurmagomedovs, Usman Nurmagomedov to be specific, on January 25th for I think it's Bellator Championship. So with him for a week down here in Florida, getting him ready. And then this past weekend, obviously, Ian fought an amazing fight against Shavkat Rakhmonov and just fell short for his first loss. But I think there's so much positive to take away from that. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but there's so much positive to take away from that. And I'm excited for Ian. I'm excited to get back to work, Ian to take some rest, me to take some rest, and then take 2025 and really take a couple steps for this belt. But yeah, so it's been a lot, been a busy few weeks of travel and getting ready for this fight, and now finishing up with Paul. But after this week, it's Christmas time, and I think it snowed in New York, so I'm pretty excited to go home. And yeah, so we're back today. We have a 30-minute AM tap. We're going to be talking about if you've fallen off during the holidays and how to get back on track, and from there, what happens or why it's so important to get started before New Year's hits. Because I know we're starting to see that little, January's come in, get back into the swing of things, fitness trend that comes around. And I want to talk a little bit about why that doesn't work and why it can be so ineffective for people. All right. Jerry, anything to add to that?
No,
Jerry's been
ready to
learning to
jump into
skateboard.
it.
He's been killing it.
Yeah,
And
I've been learning to skateboard. In the time that I've been on and off sick for the past like 3 weeks, like on antibiotics, then got worse, then a different sickness. So, I mean, living with nieces and nephews, that's gonna happen. So I think they're just giving me everything that they're getting in school. So I'm just boosting my immune system for the new year. That's how I'm looking at it.
exactly,
Just getting ready.
exactly.
But yeah, it's been
Nope.
good.
We're here.
Been good.
We're here. 30-minute AM tap. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Three, two, one, and go. All right. So
That's what you stepped in. That's what was.
so we talked about this on the last episode coming up on the holidays. If you haven't obviously checked out the ebook we wrote, How to Be a Beast During the Holiday Feast, this gives you a lot of insight into how to manage the holidays and how to be better prepared for it, right? But if you did manage to fall off track or just get lost in all of it, a lot of people do. It's very common, it's very normal, and I think a lot of people, end up enjoying the holidays too much, right? And I think one of the things to note right away is if you did end up falling off, right? Because we're what, about 2 weeks removed from Thanksgiving now, right?
Yeah, because we got about two until Christmas. So
Yeah, so about 2 weeks removed from Thanksgiving, and it's very easy during this time. I think I don't know if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think on average people gain about 5 to 10 pounds
I don't know the actual
during the
metric, but
holidays.
I know how I feel after Thanksgiving. So
Yeah. So if you're in this boat and you let it kind of get to you, or you didn't keep as good of control as you wanted to, it's normal, right? And the biggest thing now is to really dial everything back in and just really kind of get back on board. And one of the things that I hate hearing is, "Oh, I'll wait till Monday. Oh, I'll wait till, next week," that type of thing. And I think anytime you say, "I'm going to wait till Monday," you're just giving yourself more time to fuck up and putting yourself in like a bigger and bigger or deeper hole, we should say, right? So I think first things first, if you have fallen off or you have kind of put yourself in a position where you're not feeling the best or you feel like you put on weight is today. Start. After you listen to this, start. Make that mental shift right away to say, hey, I'm going to start cleaning things up, right? Because we still have 2-ish weeks until Christmas, as Jerry said. And with that being said, there's still a lot of time to make a lot of progress in that time before Christmas so that you can enjoy Christmas even more, but still stay on track before that, right? And I think one of the things, like I said, is starting as soon as possible, not quote unquote waiting until Monday, right? But today, tomorrow, whatever it is, you start and you start to make those choices. You eat positively, right? You make protein the main source. You focus on 80%, hitting 80% of the goals that you have to hit during this time, and just getting the exercise in, cleaning up the diet as much as possible. Because if you can eat really well for 2 weeks, or say whatever time is left, 2 or 3 weeks, you're really going to be able to maximize the time you have during Christmas to fully enjoy it. Right. And again, we talked about this in the last episode. It's not so bad the day of, right? The day of the holiday and eating and enjoying those foods is not bad whatsoever. What's bad is when the day after and the day after that and the leftovers, and then that's where people start to kind of get caught up in things and they lose control. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to touch on the starting Monday thing. As somebody with undiagnosed OCD, I know that if I don't start something on the beginning of the week, very first day, I feel off. So like you starting on Monday doesn't mean need to be this is my new program. I'm starting on a Thursday and now it's going to be off Thursday through Wednesday or whatever it is. You can do it so like maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever you're doing can be light work in the gym, it could be maintenance, it could be getting the ball rolling. So if you are starting a new program on Monday, you could start full in 100% whatever you want to do. But waiting to start in general until Monday is that's where you lose it because like Brandon said, you just get a lot of time to you add more time where you can kind of fuck it up and kind of dig your hole a little deeper in that lazy train. So definitely like just starting anything is better than waiting until Monday to start.
Yeah, well, I think like you made a good point, right? Like the fitness stuff is very easy to change, right? And even if let's say it's Wednesday, like today's Wednesday, right? And you're listening to this on a Wednesday, and you kind of get to that point that you're like, all right, I've fallen off. It's been 2 weeks. I feel like I let the holidays get to me. What I mean by that is a mental decision that you're starting today. With the fitness
Mhm.
stuff, it's very easy because as we've talked about in the past, there is no specifics that we need to have with fitness. If it's walking, if it's running, if it's lifting, like finish out this week, do what you got to do, whatever that looks like. Just get inside the gym for, the four, yes, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So the 5 days
Mhm.
that are left in the week, right? And then on Monday, start, a full solid program that you're going to follow all the way through. Because I'm the same way. If I follow a program,
Exactly.
I want to start on Monday. But in that time before, that doesn't mean I'm just like, oh, fuck it, whatever. Just
Mhm.
that time before is a little bit more, I guess, loosely followed. So I'm just kind of doing what I feel like doing or doing things that I enjoy a little bit more. But it doesn't mean I'm not working out, right? And I think for a lot of the things, even with myself during all this travel, this is one of the things I kind of have to always think about because there's planes, the plane rides that are, long distances, and then there's the travel in between the planes, getting to a destination, getting into the destination, getting into the house, seeing where things are. And there's a lot of stuff like even in Thailand for, the first time we landed in Thailand, there was like a day or two period where I didn't really go to the gym because I wasn't sure where it was. And I didn't know how, like, it just wasn't like something that was the easiest to find. And, even when I got to England, it was like there was jet lag, there was time delays, and it was, the training wasn't the best, but I tried to get it in. But the biggest thing was just not letting it get to the point where I was like, oh, all right, I'm not going to do it. Right. Maybe it's not 100%. Maybe you're not getting a full, max effort session in that you normally would, but get something in to get that ball rolling. Right. And I think with that being said, if you kind of put this fitness stuff with less pressure on yourself and you kind of go into it with an idea of like, okay, I have an idea of what I want to do, but I'm just going to kind of play around with some stuff. That's fine, right? The nutrition is the biggest thing where it's like, okay, tomorrow is when I start. Tomorrow is when I don't eat like shit for breakfast. I don't eat, like shit for lunch, and I don't eat a huge dinner. right? You make those sacrifices now so that when that big holiday comes on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, right? Because I don't know how much you are the same anymore, Jerry, but like when I go home, there's still a lot of food on Christmas Eve, and then there's a lot of food on
Oh
Christmas
yeah.
Day, right?
Yeah.
Like my grandma still makes, it's not as much obviously since there's not as many people, but she makes the bacala, so she makes that on Christmas Eve, which is kind of a once a year thing. So it's like, all right, there's room for that. There's always room to have that. And then the next day there's pasta, there's chicken cutlet, there's whatever else
Yeah.
comes on our Christmas Day, right? So I think for those days, it's just planning ahead and understanding like, okay, I know I'm going to eat like an asshole on those days. I'm not going to second guess it. So these weeks before are super important. And I think that, this same conversation we're having right now is going to be applied the days after Christmas, right? Because this is such a unique stretch in the year where Thanksgiving hits, then a few weeks after that is Christmas, and then a few days after that is New Year's. And then it's like all these big holidays where people celebrate, and it's very easy to go a month and a half without actually following things, right? And this is
Hmm.
why there's such a big weight gain problem during the holidays, right? And I think with each of us and having us to listen to, having these other people is putting yourself in a position where when the time comes, you're doing things the right way. And I think that this is just the important part. It's that as soon as you listen to this today, you start and you go into this with the idea of I'm going to clean everything up today. I'm not waiting any longer. I'm
Hmm.
not going to put this off any more than I have to or any more than I already have. Because if we continue to let this happen, you're going to fall into this trap of the new year, right? And what I want to get to in a second is why this is such a big trap, right? And why it's so important to like not wait. Because if we continue to wait, right, this is when we get, and I know this sounds ridiculous, but this is when, a week off turns into a couple months into a year, and
Yeah.
then you get to a point where you look back a year and you're like, fuck, I didn't do nearly as much as I wanted to. And it goes the same thing with anything else. Obviously, we're in the fitness realm, so I'm going to keep it fitness. But, I've had these moments in my life where I'm like, all right, I'll wait to do this for a week. Then it turns into a month. Then I look back and it's a year and I didn't do anything near that I wanted to do because I put off the one thing that I needed to start with it. Right.
Hmm.
And I think with the fitness stuff, it's so simple to just work out. And I think as you do that, right, it's whatever you enjoy, not putting so much pressure on yourself to lift 1,000 pounds or run 100 miles, right? Like I think too many people put so much pressure on themselves to do so much fitness that they scare themselves out of doing fitness, right? And I think, like I said, if you can just find something that helps and find something that gets you inside the gym or gets you sweating, gets you moving, whatever it is that you enjoy, go do it, right? And then the nutrition stuff is making that sacrifice and commitment that for the next 2 weeks before Christmas Day, you're going to clean everything up and you're going to make those right decisions and those hard, specific sacrifices so that you can enjoy them even more, right? Is there anything you agree on or add to that?
Yeah, that's perfect. I think just again, if you put things off, it sounds exaggerated when Brandon said like it turns into a week, into a month, into a couple months, into a year. That I've seen that happen to a lot of people that I know who love fitness. And it's one of my friends back home actually told me he was like, dude, I haven't worked out in like a year, which is so
Yeah.
odd because his entire life he was an athlete. He loves working out. He still plays his recreational sport like after work and stuff. But when it comes to lifting weights, which is one of his goals, he just kind of let it fall by the wayside, and then it turned into a year. So
Yeah.
it is really it's crazy how fast this stuff happens. So just trying to get on top of it now and getting ahead of the problem before it starts is huge.
Well, I think if you look at it for most people, right, think about how fast some of the last couple of years has gone for you, right?
Yeah,
And
dude,
when
it's
you don't
crazy
think
that it's
about it,
already almost 2025.
yeah. And I think like, when you look back at some of the stuff that feels like it was 2 years ago, but was actually five or, any of that stuff, the time goes by so fast that if you don't make a commitment to it, it's going to fly by and it's going to be a year, it's going to be 2 years, and
Hmm.
that type of thing where fitness very easily can become sidetracked by everything else in life, right? And we have to make a commitment for it. So waiting until the new year is just not an option. And especially it's a very bad option because when we talk about waiting for the new year, we end up putting ourselves in a position where we're going to fall victim to this vicious cycle of start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, right? Because what tends to happen in the new year, and as we start to see this more, because it's December 11th, I believe, and we're getting close to that end of the year cycle where those last 2 or 3 weeks we start to get the don't like January's right around the corner, get started now. January's around the corner, join my gym, join my program, that type of thing. And this is where a lot of people begin to fall off in their fitness journey. One, because there's so much pressure to, or you get so overwhelmed by all the things that are fitness because there are so many ads and there are so many things, punching and poking and stabbing and being like, yo, you need to join the gym. You're out of shape. You hate yourself, all this stuff. And they start to like poke at these little emotions that gets you feeling a certain type of way. And then after you haven't done things for, let's say, a year or a few months or even a month, you start to get into this mindset like, I need to do more. I need to do as much as possible. The New Year resolution trend rolls around, and you start to get into this idea of, oh, I need to do as much as possible because I need to make as much progress as possible, right? And if we know anything, we know that consistency is always going to be the most important thing in success in anything. And this is where this 80-20 rule comes in, where 80% of everything that we need to do is consistency. And then this extra 20% is more of the little details and little things that are going to get us to that extra, what would we say? Like, I guess that extra level of success. So I think with regards to consistency, the sooner we can start, the more consistent we can be. And if you get caught into this trend of these January, New Year's, like 30-day, 60-day, 90-day challenges, it's really sad how many people start or wait until the new year and are done by February
Hmm.
and don't go back to the gym until the next January. And if you look at the way that gym businesses and gym industry loves the new year, there's a reason for it, and there's a reason why Planet Fitnesses and these other local big box gyms, they love this time of year is because they get an influx of signups and then they never see those people again, right? You get a huge percentage of people who come in and join these gyms based on this New Year's resolution trend of I want to change my life, I want to do things better this year. And that's great. And I'm not knocking the feeling or the desire to want to do better and improve yourself physically. What I'm knocking is that if you don't do it in the right way and you go in with this mindset of like, I have to change everything today because I didn't do anything the last 6 months, you're going to fall off again. And you're going to be you're going to be having the same fucking conversation at the end of 2025 as you did at the end of 2024 and the end of 2023 and the end of 2022. And this is where things start to get elongated and time moves by very fast, and you put on weight and you put on weight and you have less and less movement and you feel shittier and shittier each year that you get older. And you kind of fall into this trap of, I need to do more. I can't do enough, burned out, 3 months, 4 months, a year, 2 years off. Right. And I think I've personally, I'll say this, since I started training heavily, I have not fallen into this. But before that, I fell into this many, many times, right? Before I started to lose weight, before I got into this idea of like fitness being such a big part of my life and really kind of like reshaping everything that I know about what I do in life, there were so many times that I started and stopped and started and stopped and thought about like New Year's is coming. I want to change my life. New Year's resolution. I want to lose weight. New Year's resolution. For me, it's been more business type stuff or like personal life goals where I'm like, okay, I want to start this. And then it's fallen to the wayside. And then I don't do it for, 6 to 8 months or 6 to 12 months. Right. And I think with the fitness stuff, it's never been an issue, but I can find the same things that people struggle with in fitness in other areas of my life that I've fallen off with and can understand where the struggles start to come, right? It's 1 week. It literally is just one day, 1 week of saying, all right, I'm going to skip this today. I'll do this another day. And then it turns into, all right, well, maybe I can do it another day. And then it turns into, okay, maybe I can do that another day. And this eventually comes to a head where, we end up losing sight of what we actually need to accomplish in these times. And then we're we're lost and we end up getting lost, right? And I think with the fitness stuff, it's so simple to just ask for help, find a place that we know is going to lead us to success. And take the time to really make, like, the commitment you make to yourself on January should be, I'm going to consistently be in the gym for at least 3 months, right? Because if you can consistently get into the gym for 3 months, there's really no stopping you at any point, right? And I think that the more that you can get into the gym consistently for a big stretch of time, the better off you're going to be long term. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's one of the things you
Anything you
mentioned
can add to
too.
that?
Yeah, one of the things you mentioned too is that people stop by like February when they jump into it too quick. And there's actually a day known as National Quitters Day, and that's January 14th. Like literally anywhere from there, like 2 to 3 weeks out from the new year, January 14th is known as National Quitters Day in fitness, and I'm
Is it
assuming
actually?
other things too, because people will literally give up that soon. 2 to 3 weeks into the year, they're like, things are crazy. And it's like, dude, you barely just started. Like, it's going to
I
take a
actually
little
didn't even
bit.
know that.
Yeah. And you know, like people say it all the time, like it takes 21 days to build a habit, right? That's not even
Yeah,
21 days. So, like, if you're giving up before you build the habit, obviously it's going to fall through. But National Quitters Day is January 14th. We can make a whole fucking podcast episode
I'm gonna have to look
on
that up.
avoiding
Yeah, I'm gonna have
National
to look
Quitters
that
Day.
up.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy. So,
Well,
yeah.
I think if we talk about this in like real life terms, it's such a it's a bigger issue than just the people who are doing this stuff, right? Than the ones who quit. Really, it's the environment, it's the constant pushing, it's the emotional battles that they face inside of these, you know, these environments that they go into. But I think if we're being 100% honest, it's if you can get past, like, it really makes such a big difference if you can get past that day. And that's interesting. I'm gonna have to look, like I said, I'm gonna have to look that up because if that's true, then that's literally another week. That's 2 weeks into the year.
Yeah.
And if we can get another week, that the percentage of you succeeding goes up exponentially, right? And I think, you know, when we talk about fitness long term, if you've fallen off to this point, getting back into a 21 day routine really can change the shape of what you do, right? And I think this is the other thing. I think this doesn't mean we can't take days off, right? But we need to be in some type of routine regularly. I personally am under the impression that if you can get at least 10,000 steps a day on top of training and have the 10,000 steps a day be a marker of your success each day, you're going to find a lot of consistency inside of a gym program, right? And I think if you can understand that, where everyday training doesn't have to be this big, huge, long session that you're, destroying yourself and feeling like you're beat up and tired. Once you get to a level that you're consistently in the gym and you can withstand that type of stress and recover from it properly, yeah, then we can talk about improving or increasing stressors and having these big sessions throughout the week. Because even myself, it's taken me, years to be able to build up the tolerance to a lot of exercise, right? And I even feel it when I stop. There's because I've always had bouts where it's like, travel or holidays where my training isn't as good, and coming back from that first point or that time of like a little bit of a layoff is always a lot for me, right? And it's like the same things that I did 2 weeks ago isn't the same, right? And I feel way worse. I feel heavier. My muscles feel more sore. I feel more fatigued. And that's someone who does this all the time and does it really as like a career. For someone who doesn't do it regularly or doesn't understand that pushing through it to a certain extent gets you better faster, that's where people mess up. And we have bad trainers and bad coaches and bad leaders really in this industry that causes people to make rash decisions early in the year, make emotional decisions based on things, and then when things don't go their way, because it's so easy on January 1st, 2nd, 3rd to go into the gym and do what you need to do. But then on the 5th and the 6th and the 7th, when you start to get sore and you didn't sleep well the night before, and there's leftover Christmas cookies and there's leftover Christmas food, and it's New Year's and you drank a little too much and you're still feeling hungover, like, this is the type of stuff where if you get through this initial little phase of just doing enough to get inside the gym, you're going to be successful. Right. And I really like, it's really so important that for other people here who listen to this podcast, to understand, like, if today you're listening to this podcast, to start today, right? Don't wait. Don't tell yourself January 1st is going to be the day, because if you wait through the holidays and you continue to do what you're doing, you're more likely than not to end up in this battle of it's New Year's Day, and now it's been a month and a half since I actually trained properly and I've actually eaten properly, and that's it, you know? And if we like, it's just as simple as that. If you continue to fall into this bad habit of going away, eating, enjoying, and then not coming back or not holding a schedule. Like, even this is something we've talked about consistently, but for myself, it doesn't matter where I'm at, right? 6 o'clock, I try to wake up, get my morning stuff done, and I go work out as soon as possible after that, right? It doesn't matter if I'm in Thailand, England, Rochester, Albany, like wherever I am, I try to keep that schedule. There's some days I wake up a little bit later. There's some days I train a little bit later. But for the most part, 6 o'clock is like that, what would I call it? I guess that, what's the word I'm looking for?
I know what word you're
I don't
looking
even know.
for, but
Like
I
the
can't think of it.
thing that,
You're constant?
yeah.
Would you say it's your constant?
Maybe.
Like it's always there.
Maybe.
It's always
I guess that
six.
could be a good
That's the
word.
thing
But
that's
like,
all, no matter
yeah,
what
yeah,
changes
yeah.
around you, that's your constant. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, like, that's always there, and that's always a measure of getting back on track for me. And it starts with that type of stuff. It doesn't mean you have to wake up at 6, because like that doesn't always work out for people. But whatever time, right, you want to wake up, make sure you wake up at that time every single day. Whatever time you want to go to bed, make sure you go to bed at that time every single day, or around that time. Obviously, things happen. You stay out a little late, especially during the holidays. There's family. These are all, you know, exceptions. But if as close as you can stick to that stuff, you need to stick with that stuff. And I think when it comes down to it, if we can get into these little habits, this is what builds success, right? And I think with Jerry, when we came up with the BGPerform guiding principles, we talked about it with movement, we talked about it with sleep, we talked about it with nutrition, environment, and we talked about it with routine, and we talked about it with doing what you like to do, right? And these are all just basic principles. If you add these into any program that you're running or doing or involved with, it doesn't really matter. You're going to find success, right? And then when it comes to nutrition, it's the same thing. Having an environment that's supportive, having movement involved in your routine, understanding the basic principles of choosing food and what nutrition actually looks like, understanding what an actual routine of eating looks like, and then obviously doing things that fit for your life and that you enjoy. If you don't enjoy any of this stuff that you're doing, you're probably not going to be too successful with it, right? So when you make these decisions, right? When you make these decisions on what you're eating, how you're eating, take into account of like, what do I actually enjoy and what's going to help me stick with this in the long run. Don't go on a tangent of like, this guy's doing this, so I have to do this. You can, right? And I don't think this is a bad place to start, because even I've done this when I was younger. Jerry, I'm sure, I don't know if you've done this, where you see someone you're inspired by and you just kind of follow what they do, right?
Absolutely.
And that,
Yeah.
and that works for a little bit. And I think that's a good point. But I think all of the things in fitness that leads to success are, and what makes these people that you look up to so great, is that they have their own routine. They have what works for them. And the problem becomes is when these people, they preach it like gospel. They preach whatever they do as the right way, and that's it. And in reality, it's not always the right way. It can be very successful for a lot of people, but I think that it's important for us to take these things and try them, and then understand, like, okay, this is what worked for me. This didn't really work for me. I like this food. I don't really like this food. And you swap those things out. For fitness, a lot of us don't have time to work out for 2 hours a day. So it's like that hour that you do have time to work out in, get as much done as possible. Try to create as much of a structure as possible that you can follow and that gets you in and out efficiently and helps you get the most out of each exercise. And that's it, right? Don't put so much pressure on yourself to go train twice a day and run for hours and do all this stuff, because that's not sustainable. And I know it's nice, it feels nice, it looks nice, but there's also this constant desire to be consistent. And I think if you can aim to have that, all this is going to be so much more successful, right? Even with yourself, Jerry? Like I know with the new job, with moving, it all this stuff gets in the way of being successful. You know what I mean? Inside the gym. And it's so easy for myself. Like I think I have a unique perspective because I had such a good routine in England. I was because I've been training for this triathlon, and I was biking twice a week. I was swimming twice a week. I was running twice a week. I was lifting 4 times a week. My nutrition was on point, and I was feeling like my best I felt in a while. And then I had to travel to Thailand, and they didn't have the same type of food. It wasn't as easy to get that food. It wasn't as simple to go to a nice market there. Like it was very different of an environment. I didn't have my bike. I couldn't swim, and I was like trying to do everything that I could, and it just didn't feel 100%. The time difference fucked me up for like 4 or 5 days, but I did what I could. I tried to stay consistent. I didn't feel my best. I wasn't looking my best, but I did what I could, right? Then I traveled back to England and I had a week, and I did as much as I could routine wise in that week. Then I had to go to Las Vegas, and it was fight week, which is a different type of week for me. It's not the same that I normally have inside of a week. Now I'm in Florida for a week. It's like all the travel I've had, I still keep the as much of the routine as I possibly can, which is wake up early, get some type of movement in, and then I start my day. And then if I have more time later, I'll do some more movement. I make sure I'm really dialing in on the nutrition. I make sure I'm eating what needs to be eaten, right? And even in Florida, like it's been unique because Paul hooked it up down here, who I'm with right now in Florida. He got us meal prep. He got us a nice place to stay. So it like makes things a lot easier when the people that you come to work with take care of you as well. And Ian always takes care of me as obviously as well. It's just the places we go aren't, they're like out there. Like Thailand isn't like England, and England's not like America, and America's not like Brazil. And all these places I've been are just new, different what do I want to say? Like cultures. They're different cultures. And like finding your routine inside these is very hard. But if you can consistently keep that stuff through the holidays, it's just like that. The holidays come up is just like me having to travel somewhere else, or Jerry moving to a different state, or having a new job and having a new schedule. One of the things that's been tough that me and Jerry have been trying to figure out is schedule, because he started like a new full-time job, and with what I've been doing and the travel, and it's like, hey, I'm free at this time, and sometimes we miscommunicate, or Jerry misunderstands. Let's just put it
No,
that
no, no, no.
way. we
Miscommunicate.
Jerry hates the way I text. He said that I don't text very good.
Brandon texts like he's staring at something in the distance and he's kind of like checking his phone every second and then he sends something. He's like, fuck, I forgot to add this. Yeah. Uh-huh. He'll get it. And then he puts his phone away.
I text I text I text as if I'm talking to somebody in person, and sometimes I don't know, I forget to add things and I text you right after. But he hates the way I communicate through text. Anyways, it's constantly trying to find that schedule and constantly trying to find the ins and outs of what we do, right? But to summarize this all, because we're about to run out of time here on this timer. Oh, okay, good. Didn't want to make sure. Um, to summarize this all, if you've gotten to a point with Thanksgiving and now Christmas coming up, right, that you've fallen into a lull, or you've fallen into this habit of like, I just don't feel like my best. I don't feel like I'm eating how I should, working out as I should, treating myself as I should, or kind of following through on the things that I promised myself. Start today. If you listen to this, take the time to start. Don't wait. Don't let yourself wait another day or week to make a commitment and actually get started on this stuff. Go to the market, whatever food you have. If there's leftovers still, which at this point, if you're eating 2-week old leftovers, you're probably got a bigger problem. But go to the market, buy some nice food, get things into the fridge like fruits and meats and vegetables and high quality foods. Get those into your fridge. Obviously, you can still enjoy stuff, right? Like when I got here back to America from England, first thing I bought was pumpkin pie, and I put that in my fridge. And throughout the week, I ate the entire thing, but I made sure it was smartly eaten. And this is the type of stuff where we can make those little decisions today to improve that nutrition, right? And then through the fitness stuff, just get into the gym, go walk, do push-ups at home, do an at-home workout. YouTube, you can YouTube whatever you need in regards to it. There's at-home workouts, there's yoga workouts, there's whatever it is, just get yourself moving today to the point that you break a little bit of a sweat and you feel like you did something. And do that for the next 7 days. And I think I want to give you guys some practical advice, right? If you haven't done anything for a while, go crazy and say, "Oh, I'm working out 7 days a week now," right? Because you're going to last 3 days and then you're going to be sore and you're not going to get it done. If I do think there's a way to structure it that if you're just starting out again, you can train 7 days and get a lot out of it, but it needs to be done in the right capacity. And for most of us, we probably don't understand what that capacity looks like. So I'd start at 3 days, right? And on the days that you aren't fully training or going to a gym, the goal should be 8 to 10,000 steps, right? So starting today, 8 to 10,000 steps, and maybe a gym session or an at-home lift or whatever you like to do, yoga, something like that. If you're a little bit more advanced and you've fallen off, maybe this conversation doesn't, totally apply to you, but just get back into the gym, get back into whatever program you're running. And then if you want to start a new one, like I said, me and Jerry are both kind of on the same page. I like starting programs on Mondays. I don't like starting programs in like the middle of the week. So usually what I'll do is just tweak some stuff and finish out the week and then start the full program on Monday. Do what you need to do. Obviously, if you're an advanced or intermediate lifter, you probably have some experience in regards to tweaking programs and whatnot. So follow that through. And then, I think if you really struggle with this stuff, obviously there's the option of hiring a coach, whether it be someone like us or someone else that you follow online. I don't think it's a bad idea, especially if you've consistently been in a cycle of falling off like throughout the years and you've started and stopped, having someone to just guide you through this first period, right? This first 3 months of the new year can really change a lot of the way that you view fitness and the things that you can get done. And this is something I always tell a lot of my clients is when they start with me is a 3 month period is so beneficial because it gives you everything that you need to kind of learn the habits, learn the language, learn what an actual routine looks like, and you can really make a lot of change inside of that 3 months. So if you've struggled and you know that this has been a constant struggle for you, hire somebody, talk to somebody, reach out, do some research. You can always reach out to us and ask questions. And obviously, if you want further help, we can talk about coaching and whatnot. But I think for a lot of people, just having that person in your ear to say, "Hey, do this, don't do this. All right, the holidays are coming up. Here's how I want you to attack it. Here's what training should look like around that time." Obviously, Christmas Day might not look like a full training day for a lot of people, but here's what we can do to make sure we counteract that, right? So don't get caught up in this stuff. If you have fallen off, reach out, let us help. If you have fallen off, make that decision today to get back in nutrition, make a decision today to get back into the gym and do some type of training and be consistent over this time. Don't wait till January 1st. Don't fall into the cycle of I have to do everything January 1st and then fall off on National Quitters Day or before National Quitters Day. And we're going to talk about National Quitters Day a little bit more. I just got to do a little bit more research on it.
Mhm.
And I think that's it for me. Is there anything to add to that?
I know that somebody, okay, one of you is listening and you're thinking, he said start today, but I'm not going to finish the podcast until tomorrow. So technically, I'll start tomorrow. Start today. If you don't finish the podcast purposely so you could start tomorrow, start today anyway. Don't make today
And that's
tomorrow.
whatever the
Someone's like,
today
"Oh,
is you're
I'll start
listening.
today, but I didn't finish it until tomorrow." Fucking slick thing. Someone's driving home from work. I don't really want to, but
There's 1 second left. I didn't finish the podcast. I guess I'll start tomorrow.
I'll just have to go back and start it over.
If that's the case, whatever day you do finish it, start that day. And
Yes.
again, get into the gym or get some
No,
good food.
fuck it. If you heard us say start today in the beginning of the podcast and you don't finish the podcast until Tuesday next week, you still start today. I don't
Exactly.
care.
Exactly.
You start
Exactly.
today.
So, yeah, I think that's it for me.
That's it.
I think Jerry makes a good point. Start today. Don't fucking wait.
Hmm.
And if you have questions, obviously reach out to us at Coach Jerry Hayes and at BGPerform underscore. The guy who has the BGPerform underscore or BGPerform Instagram hasn't answered me.
I'm
So
gonna make
I
him an
got
offer
to,
he can't refuse.
yeah, I'm going to find out where he lives and I'm going to
Send him flowers.
change the
Perhaps an
password.
edible arrangement laced with warfarin. Isn't that what they give to fucking? Isn't that like rat poison?
What's it
Warfarin?
called? I don't
Warfarin?
know.
I
I
think
don't
that's
know.
rat poison.
There's only one way
Anyways,
to
we're not
find
gonna
out.
poison BG Perform. Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
he's safe for now.
he's for now.
It's
He's gonna fucking die and it's gonna point back at us. So I'm gonna say I have nothing to do with it.
got
It's gonna
nothing to
be
do with it.
One of those CEO things. He's a
I
CEO
know.
of
I was gonna
something. It's
say,
gonna
yeah,
point
yeah,
right
yeah,
back at you.
yeah. Exactly. It's gonna be our podcast. Maybe we'll get a lot of views then.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And we're like, oh, oh. I
Conspiracy.
appreciate you guys for tuning in. Again, sorry for the delay. There's been a lot of travel, a lot of things going on, but we are kicking ass right now, and we're gonna keep this ship sailing. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and I will see you guys soon. Peace.